You promised yourself that this year would be different, but so far, it isn't. I want you to think back to January for a second. You watched all the YouTube videos. You made the vision board, you saved the Pinterest posts, and maybe, if you're like me, you changed your phone background so that every time you unlocked your phone, you'd be reminded of the life that you're working towards. You told yourself, this is my year. This is the year where I finally lock in. And you meant it. But now it's July and you're in the exact same position you were in 6 months ago. And that's frustrating. It's so frustrating because it's not like you don't want the life that you're dreaming about. It's not like you don't care. And after a while, you start asking yourself a question that really chips away at your confidence. What's wrong with me? Why does it seem like when everyone else decides that they're going to do something, they actually do it? Why do I keep on making promises to myself that I never keep? If you've been asking yourself these questions lately, I just want you to know that I've been there for years. Actually, every January, I was convinced that this year would finally be the year. And then somewhere along the way, I just stopped. I'd lose momentum, I'd get distracted. I'd tell myself I'd start again on Monday, and then Monday became next week became next month, and before I knew it, another year had gone by. I did that for almost 5 years. 5 years of making promises, 5 years of breaking them, 5 years of wondering why I couldn't become the woman I desperately wanted to be. So if you're halfway through 2026 and you're feeling disappointed, trust me, I completely understand. I really, really do. But I also want to tell you something that I wish someone had told me all those years ago. Just because the first 6 months didn't go the way you hoped, doesn't mean that the rest of the year has to follow the same story. And here's what I eventually realized. The problem wasn't that I kept breaking one promise. The problem was that I had made breaking promises a part of who I believed I was. Think about it. Every single year, you finally tell yourself you're going to do something, whether it be you lose weight, you start the business, you post the content, read the Bible consistently, you save the money, wake up earlier, like whatever your thing is, somewhere along the way, you stop. And every time that happens, you are collecting another piece of evidence, another receipt, another reminder that says, see, you don't follow through. And eventually you have this paper trail of broken promises, years of unfinished goals, years of proving to yourself that your words don't really mean anything. So now when January comes around and you get excited again and you start dreaming again, there's going to be a part of your brain that doesn't believe you because it's looking at evidence. It's saying, last year you said this, and the year before that, you said this too. What makes this year any different? And honestly, can you blame yourself for thinking that way? Like, if someone in your life kept making promises and continuously broke them, you wouldn't believe their word either. So why would your relationship with yourself be any different? That's when I realized I don't need better habits. I don't need another morning routine. I don't need a better vision board or better manifestation techniques, whatever. What I need to do is rebuild the trust with myself. But here's the thing. I think you're experiencing something that almost all of us encounter when we try to go through radical change in our lives. We underestimate how uncomfortable change actually is. Because changing your life sounds so exciting until you actually have to change. We all love the idea of becoming a different person. We love imagining the future versions of ourselves. The confident version, the disciplined version, the healthy version, the woman who's making the money that she's always dreamed of having. We love her. But becoming her is a completely different story because becoming her asks something of us. It asks us to think differently, to behave differently, to let go of old habits that we've become so accustomed and comfortable with. And that's where most of us get stuck because we don't realize that the dream requires us to be someone completely different, to become someone that we've never been before. I remember realizing this in my own life. There were some goals that came pretty naturally to me, like getting into my dream college, studying abroad at an amazing university, graduating. Those goals were difficult, don't get me wrong, those were hard, but they didn't require me to change or have any sort of radical changing of my mindset, my habits, my beliefs to achieve them. Those were pretty straightforward. There was a path, study, get good grades, do the work, get the outcome. It was predictable. Not easy, but predictable. But there were goals that completely had me stuck, like changing my finances, getting confident, losing weight, creating the life I kept dreaming about. Because those goals don't just ask you to work harder, they ask you to become someone different. You can't tell yourself, I'm going to lose 10 pounds while spending every single day lying in your bed and watching YouTube. You can't tell yourself, I'm going to build wealth while avoiding the work that would actually create it. You can't tell yourself, I'm going to become confident while hiding yourself in your apartment every single chance you get. And eventually I just had to come to terms with this concept or this notion that the life I wanted was going to require me becoming someone completely different, someone that I didn't know, someone that I had no experience of being, a version of myself that did not yet exist. And that's so scary, right? That's terrifying. Because now we're not just changing our habits, we're changing ourselves. And I think this is where so many of us misunderstand ourselves, because a lot of the times we think that we're resisting the work, when in reality, we are resisting the uncertainty. Even if your current life isn't the life you want, at least it's familiar. That's what your brain's thinking, right? You know how this version of your life ends. You know what tomorrow looks like. And there's something like strangely comforting about that, even when that comfort isn't making you happy. And I know that sounds weird, because why would anyone choose a life that makes them unhappy? But your brain isn't always asking what will make me the happiest. A lot of the time it's asking what's the safest. Safety loves certainty. It loves predictability. It loves knowing exactly what's going to happen next. The problem is that every dream you've ever had asks you to walk into uncertainty. You don't know if the business will work. You don't know if posting that first video will lead you to anything. You don't know if moving to another city is going to change your life. You don't know, and your brain hates not knowing. It would rather keep you in a life that's familiar than risk a future that it can't predict. That's why change feels so uncomfortable, because uncertainty feels like danger to a brain that's trying to protect you. And once I really understood that, so many of my own behaviors finally began to make sense. Like, if I don't try, I can't fail. If I don't post, nobody can judge me. If I never put myself out there, I don't have to go through the pain of rejection. If I stay inside my apartment, nothing bad can ever happen. At least that's what my brain wanted me to believe. And looking back, I wasn't lazy. I wasn't unmotivated. I was just trying to protect myself. Or at least I thought I was, because that's what survival mode does. It convinces you that avoiding discomfort is the same thing as staying safe. But I know, and you know this too, we know, right, that the lives that we want isn't on the other side of comfort. It's on the opposite side of discomfort. Every version of me that I had been dreaming about, she had already made peace with being uncomfortable. She was willing to be judged. She was willing to make mistakes. She was willing to look inexperienced. She was willing to fail publicly if it meant eventually becoming the woman that she wanted to be and having the life that she's always wanted to have. Meanwhile, I was trying to become her without ever feeling uncomfortable. And unfortunately, those two things cannot exist at the same time. So the answer to your problem right now isn't to make another big promise that you can't keep to yourself. In fact, I think that's the last thing that you should be doing right now. Because if your brain already doesn't trust your word, making another huge promise isn't going to fix that. That's just going to end up being another opportunity to prove yourself wrong. What you need right now is evidence, new evidence that says, I am someone who follows through. So that we can begin to restore that self-trust in ourselves. And here's the beautiful thing. You don't need to build that self-trust by doing something extraordinary. You build it by doing something ordinary consistently. It can be something ridiculously small. Make your bed every morning. Take a shower when you said you would. Like, I'm talking ridiculously small. Go for a 10-minute walk. Read one page of a book. Send the email that you've been avoiding. It almost doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you said you were going to do it and you did it. Because every time you keep one small promise, you're casting a vote for a different identity. You're showing yourself, maybe I can trust myself after all. And I know that doesn't sound life-changing. I know making your bed doesn't magically make you more disciplined. But that's not really what this is about. It's about becoming someone whose word means something, especially to yourself, because for so long, you've been collecting evidence that you can't follow through. Now, it's time to start collecting evidence that you can. So if there's anything I want you to take away from this video, is this. You still have 6 months left. I know it might feel like you wasted the first half of the year. I know you probably look at all your goals and all you see is a list of things that you haven't yet done. But I don't want you to fall into the trap of believing that just because the first 6 months didn't go the way you thought they would, that the next 6 months have to look the same too. Because they don't. Your story is not finished, and neither is your year. So many of us spend our lives dreaming, and dreaming isn't a bad thing. Like, I think dreaming is a gift from God. And I think He gives us visions because He wants us to pursue them. He wants us to build them because on that journey of building, we become the woman that He's created us to be, which is His ultimate goal. But somewhere along the way, dreaming becomes a substitute for doing. We spend so much time imagining the life that we want that we forget to start building. We fall in love with the fantasy, we replay it in our heads, we picture ourselves living it one day, but one day never comes because today never changes. And I don't want that for you. I don't want you to spend another 5 years going through what I did. Writing down the same goals, making the same promises, feeling excited every January, only to feel disappointed every July. I don't want your dreams to stay dreams. I don't want the vision that God placed on your heart to become something that you only ever visit in your imagination. I want you to experience it. I want you to live it. I want you to become the woman you've been praying to become. And maybe that starts today. I hope it does. Not with some massive life overhaul, not with trying to fix every area of your life overnight, but with one decision, one promise, one action. One thing you said you were going to do and then actually doing it. Because that's how lives actually change. Not all at once, one promise kept at a time. So this is my challenge for you. Stop waiting until you feel ready. Stop waiting until you feel confident. Stop waiting until you feel motivated. Stop waiting until January. You don't need another new year. You need another decision. Because the woman you want to become isn't created by just dreaming about her. She's created by becoming her, one action at a time. So don't let your dreams remain fantasies. Don't let another year go by wishing you had just started. Leave the fantasy behind. Become a doer. Become the kind of woman who keeps her word. Become the kind of woman who takes action even if it's uncomfortable. Become the kind of woman who trusts herself again. Because the life that you've been fantasizing about isn't built by just dreaming. It's built by doing. It's built by taking action consistently. And I know that's something you've struggled with this year. That's why you're here. You feel like you've wasted the first half of 2026 because of your inability to take action. But like I said, let's start by rebuilding the trust with ourselves, one action, one small promise at a time. So set out an intention, as small as it may be, and see it through. And then do it again, and again, and again, and again. Because we're not gonna let another year go by without doing anything to push us closer to our goals. So set one intention, one small intention, and build that self-trust with yourself so that you can eventually become the woman who can trust her word, who can follow through on action, big or small. So it's not too late to change your life this year. It's not too late to start this year. You don't need January optimism and January hype to start taking action in the middle of July. Don't take the time you have left for granted. Make the most of it. Spend it building towards the life that you've always dreamed about. So that's all I had for today's video. I hope this has blessed you and inspired you. And if you guys are on this journey of becoming a doer, of no longer just fantasizing about the life you want, but actually bringing it into reality, of becoming the woman who consistently takes action, then please subscribe to my channel because that is all I'm going to talk about. Giving you advice and tips, lessons that I have learned from the 5 years that I've been on this journey of trying to change my own life so that you don't have to go through the same hard 5 years, but just sharing everything that I can and I have to help you stop dreaming and start doing so that you can live the life that you've always wanted to have. So if you want that too, then subscribe. And as always, my name is Tomi, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.